Okay, welcome back to the 21-day challenge of worship. We are on day 2. Our scripture today comes from Psalm 121, and it speaks for itself. I will lift up my eyes to the hills from whence comes my help. My help comes from the Lord who made heaven and earth. Now, I want you to notice the word help there. That word help simply means that no matter what you're going through, we have a helper. Who is that helper? God says He is our help. I will look to the hills from which comes my help. My help comes from the Lord. In other words, I want you to pay attention. Most people look at this and they say, God is my help. But actually, this is really a scripture of changing your focus. Instead of looking at the problem, look higher. I will look to the hills from which comes my help. My help comes from the Lord. In other words, if I keep my eyes on the problem, I will not worship. But if I put my eyes on the one who has the answer, who is my help to the challenge, he says, He will help us. I will look to the hills from which comes my help. My help comes from the Lord. Now, it's all about focus. What you focus on is the way you respond to a certain situation. And so if I focus on the problem, I'm going to respond accordingly to the problem. But if I focus on the help, that is God Himself, then He will put His focus on my problem. And so I understand that there's another way to say this. In Matthew chapter 6, verse 21, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Where your heart is, what is your heart focused in on? Is it focused in on the problem? Now, I recognize that in context in Matthew, we're actually talking about money or God, but the principle itself is in that scripture. Where your heart is, that's where your treasure will be. Where your treasure is, that's where your heart will be. And so if I lift up my heels and focus on God, rather than focusing on what I can see with my natural eye, the problem, that's where my treasure is, that's where my heart is, and where my heart is, that's where God is. And so what God is saying, and now if your focus is on something negative, God's not in that. But what I'm saying is, if your focus is on God, your help, He says, I will be there to help you. So I will lift up my eyes. In other words, I will change my focus point. So my focus point now becomes what? My worship and not my challenge. We all often sing a song, don't wait till the battle is over to shout now. I start shouting in the middle of my challenge. What does that really mean? I worship even in the midst of my challenge. So how do I change my focus? I put my focus on Him and not the problem. I will lift up my eyes into the hills from which comes my help. My help comes from the Lord. I'll see you in day 3.